Welcome back to the Think, See, Listen YouTube channel, where I give it to you raw and uncut and uncensored, unedited, and completely unprofessional, all to give glory to the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Part 10, and possibly the final part of Alex Jones' Great Reset and the War for the World. Let's jump right back into it. Waste no time. This is the persuasion play. Make an appeal to widely accepted values such as integrity, solidarity, and fairness, then pivot to the fear, COVID, climate change, environmental degradation, and the pace of technological change. The reader feels a little disoriented because they've been moved so quickly from a place of pleasure, considering the values of integrity, solidarity, and fairness, to fears of the future, and then when they're in a vulnerable state, tell them they've gone from being altruistic to self-centered. It really is domestic abuse of the reader, and you might want to seek out a shelter for reader abuse victims. Schwab then moves into the savior role. Isn't it strange that for 5 books, Schwab has revealed nothing about himself? When politicians are trying to win our vote, they don't usually tell us don't they usually tell us every nauseating detail about themselves, like what their elementary school bus ride was like, or whether they may have bullied somebody in high school and live today in continual shame over the harm they may have inflicted decades ago? I believe it's a strategy. Schwab has made himself a blank slate, like movie stars used to do before they thought it was a good idea to share everything about themselves. That's because he knows that if he talks about the failures of others, the conclusions readers will draw is that Schwab and his Davos buddies have none of those flaws. They're consciously assuming the mantle of the Ubermenschen, the supermen, who never share the slightest detail about themselves, which would make us connect with them as human beings. Today, this polarization is cleaving our liberal societies and is a key threat to their very survival. An effective response demands the re-establishment of trust, which in turn is only possible if political and business leaders exemplify the moral standard expected of them. Only by walking the value talk, will they have the authority to implement essential value-oriented policies. I can't get over the fact that I've never once heard Schwab say his Davos buddies or government leaders need to talk to individual people. It's fine to talk to members of groups, but don't you learn so much more about people when you simply sit down and talk with them for a few hours? It's how human beings have solved problems for hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe our primitive ancestors with no modern technology had an exceptional advantage over us. If there was somebody within the tribe they disagreed with, they had to solve the problem. They couldn't just stalk off to their teepee and get on their iPhone to surf the Paleolithic web. People would notice unresolved conflicts which might potentially threaten the ability of the tribe to survive in a brutal world that was often indifferent to their survival. As I've said before, the globalists have been using every world crisis, from World War I to COVID-19, to push their agenda. Each crisis demands the same response they've been making for more than a century. Everything that comes in the post-pandemic era will lead us to rethink the role of government rather than simply fixing market failures when they arrive. When they arise, they should, as suggested by the economist Mariana Mazzucato, move towards actively shaping and creating markets that deliver sustainable and inclusive growth. They should also ensure that partnerships with businesses involving government funds are driven by public interests, not profit. Looking to the future, governments will most likely be with different degrees of intensity. Decide that it's the best interest of society to rewrite some of the rules of the game and permanently increase their role. Oh, that's in bold. Looking to the future, governments will most likely, but with different degrees of intensity, decide that it's in the best interest of society to rewrite some of the rules of the game and permanently increase their role. Again, the globalists are not interested in having a conversation with you. That's because they're smarter than you. They get to decide what's in the best interest of society, which rules need to be written, and which parts of their role need to be permanently increased. And what is their role? Schwab tells you. He thinks he has won, and yet there has never been a time in history in which the ruling powers have been more distrusted by their citizens. We are not at the end of this story. We are just at the beginning. They have operated by stealth so far, but they are coming out of the shadows. They believe they are strong. The truth is, they've never been more vulnerable. In the U.S., President Biden's Build Back Better bill, reduced to $1.8 trillion, places the Families Plan and climate measures at the centerpiece of his domestic agenda and represents a major stepping stone to create a more equitable and sustainable society. In Europe, the welfare state has the reputation of being the most extensive and generous in the world, but it might yet extend further. The level of protection varies by countries which administer welfare policies, but the European Commission has launched a new €750 billion COVID-19 recovery fund comprising 4 pillars, 2 of which are destined to reduce social and territorial inequality and to boost economic cohesion. The globalists think they're winning, but if their ideas had any good in the first place, if their ideas had been any good in the first place, they wouldn't have had to conceal them, and they still have their dissident problem, which is only going to get worse. Yes, they may kick us off their platforms, but we'll build new ones. If they demonetize us, we'll figure out a way around that as well. Might they go as far as to kill some of us? They might. I don't discount that possibility, but each death would cost them precious capital, putting the lie to their claim of doing it for the public good. And despite all of their gun control measures, the fact is our side has most of the guns. The Second Amendment has not placed The Second Amendment was not placed right after free speech because the Founding Fathers wanted to protect our right to hunt. The Second Amendment serves as a check on a government that might seek to become a tyranny. I understand these are scary times, but I am not afraid. I believe, as St. Augustine did, that the truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose, it will defend itself. I have sought to set the truth free in this book, abundantly using the words of Klaus Schwab and his fellow globalists. The power is in your hands. However, in the final chapter of this book, I will review 10 areas to watch for globalist plans as God plans their ultimate defeat. 10 crazy things the globalists say about themselves and how to fight them. Chapter 10. I think it's important to stress that in this book I have relied primarily on the writings of Klaus Schwab and other globalists like Yuval Noah Harari to justify my opinions. You may not agree with my conclusions, but I have shown my work. As Maya Angelou said, when somebody shows you who they are, you should believe them the first time. I am greatly indebted to Vigilant Citizen for publishing an article listing these crazy claims on News Wars. The first crazy thing the globalists say is that they're penetrating world governments. I believe I have abundantly documented their conviction that democracy is an inefficient way to run the nations of the world, and their enlightened dictatorship of scientists, engineers, and managers would do a much better job. In a 2010 World Economic Forum report titled Global Redesign, Schwab argued that a globalized world is best managed by a self-selected coalition of multinational corporations, governments, including through the UN system, and select civil society organizations, CSOs. Schwab himself has said, "We penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of his cabinet, or even more than half of his cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. It's true in Argentina and it's true in France, with the president a young global leader." How are the globalists getting their way? Not by convincing the public that their plans make sense. They are doing it in secret and through stealth. When the public discovers how they've been duped, there will come a great reckoning. The second crazy thing the globalists believe is that they might one day use sound waves to control the behavior of people. In their 2018 meeting, one of the topics at the World Economic Forum was titled Mind Control Using Sound Waves, based on an opinion piece from Scientific American. This is from an article on the technology. I can see the day coming where a scientist will be able to control what a person sees in their mind's eye by sending the right waves to the right place in their brain. My guess is that most objections will be similar to those we hear today about subliminal messages in advertisements, only much more vehement. This technology is not without its risks of misuse. It could be a revolutionary healthcare technology for the sick, or a perfect controlling tool with which the ruthless control the weak. The ruthless control the weak. This time, though, the control would be literal. The speaker came to the conclusion that nothing could stop this technology from being developed, but that it should be brought under the control of a benevolent organization like the World Economic Forum to make sure it isn't misused. Yeah, we all know Klaus Schwab and his buddies can be trusted not to misuse a technology to control people. The third crazy thing that globalists have said is that one day you'll take pills containing microchips. At their 2018 World Economic Forum, there was a talk from Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, about the possibility. Here's what he said: FDA approved the first electronic pill, if I can call it that. It is basically a biological chip that is in the tablet, and once you take the tablet and it dissolves into your stomach, it sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, the compliance. The insurance companies would know that the medicines the patient should take, they do take them. The insurance companies would know that the medications the patient should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field. It's interesting that these globalists never seek to engage the public in their plans. It's all about control and compliance. Whatever your age, the globalists just want to remain your eternal parent, and if you do not obey, they just lock you into your room. No food, no water, no communication with the outside world until you do. The fourth crazy thing the globalists do is to praise the massive COVID lockdowns. In fact, they praise lockdowns so much that they hate to delete some of their praise. The World Economic Forum released a video that stated lockdowns significantly reduced human activity, leading to Earth's quietest period in decades. In the same time, they showed pictures of empty cities and closed businesses. As the video continued, they considered the lockdowns worth it because carbon emissions were down 7% in 2022. Or in 2020. Carbon emissions were down 7% in 2020. However, because of the public outcry, the World Economic Forum had to delete the tweet that contained that video. They wrote another tweet: "We're deleting this tweet. Lockdowns aren't quietly improving cities around the world, but they are an important part of the public health response to COVID-19. The COVID-19 crisis was something the globalists used because it allowed them to accelerate their plans. The problem is that it ran into massive opposition from the public, many of whom have made the ultimate decision in their mind that they will never be quiet again." The fifth crazy thing the globalists say is that they want to make the COVID-19 lockdowns permanent. In a video released from August 17th, 2021, they detailed all the permanent changes COVID-19 is going to bring to our lives, such as permanent masking, Purell dispensers being a ubiquitous part of your daily life, and children being stuck permanently at home being schooled through their computer screens. In the video, they highlighted yet another cutting-edge technology. NASA has invented a system that can ID you from your heartbeat using a laser. What better way to control people by telling them they have to fear an invisible enemy and must remain forever locked in their homes and cowering in fear from it? Beware of tyrants who tell you to live in a permanent state of fear. The sixth crazy thing the globalists do is to crow their undisguised delight from the COVID-19. The sixth crazy thing the globalists do is to crow their undisguised delight with the COVID-19 crisis might allow them to speed up their plans for the Great Reset. Ugh. In a video they released in 2021 on the Great Reset, they managed to confirm all of the worst fears people had about them. In one image, they show a tombstone with the words, "Capitalism, rest in peace, 2020. And near the end, the narrator puts it plainly, and that's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time. This is not the organic growth of the marketplace, nor an arena in which the best ideas and products become the most popular. The globalists are looking to kill classic capitalism and replace it with crony capitalism. The seventh crazy thing the globalists want to do is get rid of freedom of speech, which they define as the recalibration of speech. This was stated most clearly in a speech by Australian e-safety commissioner Julie Inman Grant from the Davos conference of May 2022. She said, "We are finding ourselves in a place where we have increasing polarization everywhere, and everything feels binary when it doesn't need to be. So I think we're going to have to think about a recalibration of a whole range of human behaviors that are playing out online, from freedom of speech to freedom to be free from online violence." How can we understand this other than a call for changing freedom of speech? As I believe it, free speech itself is binary. We either have it or we don't. The eighth crazy thing the globalists say is that the World Economic Forum wants to put chips in your clothing. They released a video on the idea in 2022. These chips would function as digital passports and also allow fashion brands to resell their clothes. Imagine the possibilities for tracking you. According to the video, these products are coming out in 2025 from Microsoft. I'm not going to be wearing any. The ninth crazy thing the globalists say is the World Economic Forum is promoting the possibility of implanting smartphones into your body by 2030. Think about that. It's not enough that it's always in your hand anyway. They published a video on the possibility in 2022. This feeds into the interest by the World Economic Forum for transhumanism, or as Yuval Noah Harari stated, making you an eternally young cyborg, sexless and non-breeding. Doesn't that sound exciting? A future with no sex, no kids, and a smartphone implanted in your body. The 10th crazy thing the globalists do is how freely they state that in the future you will own nothing and be happy. In 2016, Ida Auken, a member of parliament in Denmark, said it very clearly. "Welcome to 2030, I own nothing, have no privacy." That's not good. "Welcome to 2030, I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better." The World Economic Forum loved that formulation so much that they tweeted about it in December 27, 2016. The World Economic Forum even put out an article, 8 predictions for the world in 2030, with the phrase, "You'll own nothing and be happy." The article explained, I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes," writes Danish MP Ida Auken. "Shopping is a distant memory in the city of 2030, whose inhabitants have cracked clean energy and borrow what they needed on demand." It sounds utopian until she mentions that her every move is tracked, and outside the city live swaths of discontents, the ultimate vision of society split in two. And there we have it, the ultimate outcome of the plan of the globalists. We will have a visible split between the slaves and the free people. The elite will struggle to give all the benefits to the members of their city and try to starve those who live outside the city. Now, we know what happens to the dissidents. They will be exiled, kept from the city, and forced into a digital gulag. How do we fight back against this darkness? by bringing their plan into the light. Shed light on the lies when you see them. Write a letter to the editor. Call up the talk radio shows and use your online abilities to make your voice heard. The Gospel of John gives me comfort when it says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." It really is that simple. When we shine the light on the darkness cannot fight back. It can only retreat. In this book, I hope I've been shining a powerful light on this globalist darkness. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it is what they fear. I think when one reads their readings, it becomes crystal clear how much they fear the public. It is why they lie to you. For more than a century, the globalists have been afraid to tell you the truth. As their plans materialize, do you think the common people are simply going to say, "Wow, I'm glad you didn't tell me all this before, but now that it's here, I love it"? The reason they didn't tell people about their plans is they knew you would hate it. However, when they spring the truth on people, they'll still hate it, just as much as if they've been told about it all along. We are in a war for the future of the world. The globalists want an anti-human future in which they will capture control of our species and direct the future of human development. But that's not a future the people want. They want a future of freedom where scientific discoveries liberate them to be so much more than they could ever be when they were focused on mere survival or dealing with the ravages of disease. When I say we are all children of God, I mean it from the viewpoint that each one of us has our own individual truth and we seek to live according to that truth. When a person is calm and their needs are met, they are concerned about the greater human family. Science can serve as a handmaiden of humanity's development, but it makes a poor master, which is exactly what the globalists seek to bring about. The globalists are destined to fail. It is God's will. We were created to be the masters of our own fate. We only need to choose that path, and it will open up before us. And that is The Great Reset by Alex Jones. Page 220. We got notes here. All of his cited note materials for all the chapters, all the source, I guess bibliography, I don't know, about the author. We want to read about the author. We love Alex Jones. Let's read about Jones. Born and raised in Texas, Alex Jones cuts through the lies of the globalists' official narrative with unrivaled analysis that has simultaneously led to him becoming the most talked about and the most censored name in broadcasting. Jones has indisputably left his mark on popular culture and has influenced many political and prominent figures in the industry, wielding the slogan, "There's a war on for your mind." Jones challenges big media with his daily broadcast of the Alex Jones Show by covering news the architects of the Great Reset want to be kept hidden, but lately, due to his discernment repeatedly being vindicated, the fan-created phrase, "Alex Jones was right," may now be the most iconic line associated with the radio host. From the roots of his public access show in Austin, Texas in the 90s to now running and operating his own media empire with over 400 radio and cable television stations, hundreds of online streaming platforms, and international syndication, Jones's wildly popular InfoWars has proven itself to be a powerful counter to the corporate-owned mainstream media. Jones built InfoWars from the ground up by putting profits back into the company. The listeners and viewers are Alex's partners, and he has vowed to honor their trust and always remain truly independent. daily on his title radio broadcast. Jones connects the dots and digs deeper into the story, often with the insight of experts, whistleblowers, and insiders to seek the truth and expose the scientifically engineered lies of the globalists and their ultimate goal of enslaving humanity. Jones defined globalists and their mission during a recent edition of the Alex Jones Show. A globalist is a member of the global corporate combine that is attempting to establish an authoritarian world government whose eventual aim of world government is to be able to carry out a transhumanist revolution that results in the death of the vast majority of the world population, and out of that cataclysm, a new super race. Jones uses his production to reach as many hearts and minds as possible because he believes that by informing people about the true nature of power, we can foster a real debate about humanity's destiny and allow the species to evolve toward a more orderly singularity that has humans at the core of a system which is based around maintaining free will and integrity. This defies the transhumanist goal of social Darwinism and scientific dictatorship. Jones is internationally recognized as a trailblazer of new media and an icon of the Great Awakening and the pro-liberty movement. Alex Jones is a model for people to create their own media. Michael Harrison, editor of the Industry Trade magazine, told talkers told Rolling Stone about blah 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 blah. Okay, we love Jones. Jones, we love you. We love Jones. I found InfoWars in 2010, and it was like God gave me a news channel that told the truth, and it was like, oh my God, there's a guy who is literally talking about everything I've been researching, putting it all out there, and entertaining at that. And yeah, it made me think I'm not crazy. So Alex Jones, thank you for what you do, man. God bless you. I want to eat a steak with you one day. Hope y'all enjoyed the book. God bless you.